There's a moment, usually quiet, usually in the middle of some well-intentioned attempt to help someone, when you realize something unsettling. You've been pouring yourself into others, encouraging, advising, giving. You're trying to inspire them, to lift them, to heal them. But it's not working. Not really. You're exhausted. They're unchanged. And something inside you whispers a question so subtle it almost disappears. Are you giving something that isn't really yours to give? Wayne Dyer once warned about this very trap. He said, "You cannot give away what you don't have." That sounds simple, but if we really sit with it, it unravels an entire way of living. Because many of us are trying to give love when we don't love ourselves. We're trying to give peace when we're at war within. We're trying to give wisdom when we haven't yet faced our own confusion. And that contradiction between what we offer and what we embody can quietly destroy us. We live in a culture obsessed with contribution. We're told to serve, to lead, to uplift. But there's a shadow behind all this giving. It's the illusion that we can bypass our own inner work by fixing someone else. That if we can just heal them, we won't have to feel our own pain. That if we can inspire them, we won't have to confront our own emptiness. But Dyer calls this out with surgical precision. You cannot give what you haven't cultivated. You can't fake alignment. You can't outsource authenticity. You can't offer someone peace unless you've met it within yourself. Otherwise, you're just transferring noise. You're just recycling your own unresolved chaos in the form of advice, energy, or even love. So the tough question becomes, what am I pretending to give that I haven't actually developed inside me?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. It's about seeing that real giving begins with being. That the most powerful gift you can offer the world is not your opinion, your advice, or your effort, but your presence. And presence isn't possible when you're fractured. When you're busy proving, fixing, controlling. Wayne Dyer reminds us we teach best what we most need to learn. So if you're trying to teach love, ask whether you're practicing it toward yourself. If you're preaching peace, ask whether you've stopped fighting within. If you're offering clarity, ask whether you've made friends with your own confusion. Because no matter how polished your delivery, people feel the truth underneath. And the truth always speaks louder than your words. Here's the paradox: when you stop trying to give what you don't have and instead turn inward to cultivate it, you become the very transmission of the thing you used to force. People don't need your advice nearly as much as they need your alignment. Children don't need perfect parents, they need conscious ones. Partners don't need fixed versions of you, they need honest ones. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more realness. And realness can't be borrowed. It can't be faked. It can only arise from the quiet, consistent, often uncomfortable work of returning to yourself. So the path of true service doesn't begin with them. It begins with you. Not because you're selfish, but because until you faced your own chaos, you'll only be passing it on. So here's the invitation and the warning. Before you give, ask, is what I'm offering something I actually live? If not, pause. Not forever, but until it's real. Until it's yours. Because the most powerful gift you can ever give is the energy of being someone who has become the thing they used to chase. That's the message Dyer leaves us with, not a command to be perfect, but a call to be whole. And wholeness isn't loud. It's not flashy. but it's magnetic. It heals by example, not by effort. So ask yourself now, what parts of me are trying to give from emptiness? And what might happen if I stopped, turned inward, and began to fill from within? Why inner emptiness masquerades as generosity, and how to break the pattern. Sometimes the most generous-looking acts are the most desperate cries for validation. We don't always give because we're full, we often give because we're hungry. Hungry to be seen, hungry to be needed, hungry to matter. And in a world that rewards performance over presence, it's easy to get lost in the illusion that our value is measured by how much we do for others. Wayne Dyer saw through this illusion. He warned that when we give from a place of lack, we're not really giving, we're bargaining. Bargaining for love, for approval, for identity. It looks like generosity, but it's actually survival. The energy behind the act isn't wholeness, it's fear. And if we don't slow down and examine that fear, we end up reinforcing the very emptiness we're trying to escape. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Because we've been told that giving is always good, that selflessness is always noble. But what if your selflessness is just disguised self-abandonment? What if your urge to help is a way of avoiding your own healing? Dyer said, you leave old habits behind by starting out with the thought, I release the need for this in my life. That includes the habit of rescuing others to avoid rescuing yourself. It includes the belief that your worth is tied to how useful you are. Because here's the truth, if you're constantly giving from depletion, you're not offering energy, you're leaking it. And people don't grow when they receive someone else's unresolved wounds wrapped in compassion. They grow when they encounter someone who has done their work. So how do we shift out of this pattern? It begins with radical honesty. You ask yourself, what am I hoping to get by giving this? Is it love? Is it approval? Is it control? Is it identity? Then you go deeper. What would it feel like to give without needing anything in return? That's the essence of true giving. It's clean. It's quiet. It's not about being the hero, it's about being present. But to get there, you have to stop outsourcing your sense of self. You have to stop using others as mirrors to prove you're enough. And you do that by turning inward. By building the thing you've been trying to give. You don't teach peace by preaching it. You teach peace by becoming it. You don't give love by forcing it. You give love by embodying it. This journey isn't glamorous. It's not something you can post online. It's slow. It's internal. It's built in the silence when no one's watching. But it changes everything. Because once you stop giving from emptiness, your presence becomes medicine. Your listening becomes sacred. Your words carry weight not because they're clever, but because they're true. Dyer often reminded us that you cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. The same is true for giving. You cannot give cleanly unless you're rooted in the source of what you're offering. And that requires solitude. It requires self-compassion. It requires letting go of the identity of helper long enough to become someone who actually helps. So here's the challenge. The next time you feel the impulse to give your time, your advice, your energy, pause. Ask, am I giving this because it overflows from me? Or because I need something in return? If the answer is the second, don't judge it, illuminate it. Use it as a mirror. Because nothing is wrong with wanting to be loved. But when you use giving as a strategy for earning love, you betray yourself. and the people you're trying to help feel it, even if they can't name it. Dyer's warning wasn't about giving less, it was about giving honestly. And honesty begins when you stop pretending that you're okay just because you're useful. Becoming the source, how wholeness speaks louder than words. There comes a point in every seeker's journey when you realize something profound. The world isn't waiting for your advice, it's waiting for your authenticity. Not your wisdom, but your wholeness. Not your ideas, but your being. And this is where Wayne Dyer's message becomes truly revolutionary. He wasn't telling us to stop giving. He was telling us to become the source of what we give, to embody the very qualities we want to offer. That means love becomes something you are, not something you do. Peace becomes the way you exist, not just a goal you promote. And when that shift happens, everything changes because people don't grow from being told what to do. They grow from being in the presence of someone who has integrated what they speak about. When you become the source, you stop trying to convince anyone of anything. You don't need to. Your energy becomes the teaching. Your silence becomes the medicine. Your presence becomes the sermon. Wayne Dyer once said, "You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are." That's not just a spiritual idea, it's a psychological truth. When you live in alignment, you radiate congruence. And humans are wired to respond to congruence. We trust people who are what they say. We feel safe around those who have stopped performing. We soften around those who are grounded in their own truth. And the irony is, once you become the source, giving becomes effortless. It doesn't drain you, it fills you, because you're not giving from scarcity anymore. You're giving from overflow. But how do you become the source? You begin by stopping. You stop running. You stop pretending. You stop trying to fix everyone else so you don't have to feel your own pain. You sit, you listen, you feel. You do the uncomfortable work of meeting yourself in all the places you've abandoned. You learn to love the parts of you you've been trying to hide, your shame, your fear, your longing. And in that process, you discover something miraculous, that the love you were trying to give to others was always meant for you first. That the acceptance you crave from the world is a reflection of the acceptance you're withholding from yourself. That once you return to yourself, you become a channel for everything you were trying to force. This work is not for the faint of heart. It's quiet. It's invisible. No one claps for it. But it's the foundation of everything real. When you become the source, life stops being about performance. You no longer need to prove your worth through your giving. You no longer need to rescue others to feel valuable. You no longer collapse under the weight of being enough. Because you've seen the truth, you already are. You've reclaimed your energy. You've reclaimed your wholeness. And now when you give, it's not to fill a hole, it's to share from a well that never runs dry. That's what Wayne Dyer meant when he said, "You cannot give away what you don't have." It wasn't a limitation, it was a map. A guide back to the only place true service can begin, inside yourself. So we end here, but you don't have to. You can begin, right now, with one breath, with one honest question: what am I trying to give that I haven't yet given to myself? Don't answer too quickly. Let it echo. Let it challenge you. Let it guide you back. Because when you stop trying to give what isn't yours, you make space for something far more powerful to emerge, the truth of who you are, fully felt, fully present, fully alive. And that truth, It gives without trying. It heals without effort. It speaks without words. That truth is the gift the world has been waiting for. You've made it this far, and that already tells me something important about you. You're not just curious, you're ready. Ready to peel back the layers. Ready to stop performing. Ready to stop giving from depletion and start becoming the kind of person whose very presence is a gift. Wayne Dyer's warning wasn't a rejection of generosity, it was a call to authentic generosity, the kind that only arises when you've done the deep, courageous work of becoming whole. And this isn't about arriving at some perfect version of yourself before you're allowed to give. It's about giving differently, giving from truth, giving from fullness, giving from alignment. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what would it feel like to stop trying to be helpful and start being real? Could it be that the most healing moment in someone's life might come from simply being in the presence of someone who doesn't need to fix them? Could it be that your greatest gift isn't your effort, your advice, or your strength, but your wholeness? And if that's true, then the greatest responsibility you have isn't to change the world, but to change your relationship with yourself. Because that relationship, it's the blueprint for every other one. The way you speak to yourself, care for yourself, forgive yourself, that's what you carry into every room, every conversation, every act of love. And here's a final truth. When you become the source, you stop living in fear of being not enough. Because you realize there's no such thing. You stop waiting for the world to reflect back your worth. You know your worth. You feel it in your bones. Not as arrogance, but as peace, as certainty. And that certainty allows you to show up in the world with humility, clarity, and real power. You become the kind of person who speaks less but says more, who gives less advice but holds more space, who tries less and transforms more. Because now you're not pretending. You're being, and being is the highest form of giving. So if this video has stirred something and you don't rush to fix it, don't turn it into another task. Just sit with it. Let it echo in your body. Let it guide your next pause, your next breath, your next act of compassion toward yourself. Because everything you were trying to give away, it starts there. And once it's yours, truly yours, you'll find that you don't need to try so hard to share it. You'll just become it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for going deep. Remember Wayne Dyer's warning, not as a limitation, but as a liberation. You don't have to give what isn't yours. You only have to become what was always within you. And that changes everything.